Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Meeting Gold podcast. We have a new special guest, a mortgage agent. We've had a couple mortgage agents on, but, you know, everybody's different. Every relationship is different. And Portia, you certainly have a great touch, too. I got to say, your social media, as well as your conversationalist approach.
Oh,
I must say, it impressed me.
Thank
it did impress me.
Thank you.
So I just want to give a little introduction to people, coming on the podcast, maybe for the first time, and they want to know who you are. People want to know, who is Portia? What do you do, Portia?
Who is Portia? Yes, that's a big question.
I'm sure it is.
Okay, so I am Portia, and I live in Burlington, Ontario, and I wear so many hats. So I have a nonprofit. I'm a founder of a nonprofit. I'm a mortgage agent. I'm a credit repair coach. And the busiest job I have is I'm a mother of six young children.
You told me that just today, and I got to be honest, I don't know how you do it. Six, all what ages?
2. I have a 2-year-old, 2 6-year-olds, 8-year-old, 12, one that's 12 today, and a 13-year-old who's going to be 14 in September.
Wow.
Yes. It's busy, but it's fun.
We'll get into that. Yes. I had a lovely lady on, Kate Broddick. Shout out to Kate if you're listening. And she's a mother as well. Certainly not of 6. Yeah. So like I said, I'm pretty impressed with 6. But, you know, I kind of wanted to ask her a couple questions of how she managed work-life balance. Because as a mother, you play a really important role in, really making sure that your family's taken care of, right? You know, a father's one thing, but sometimes that father role isn't either always present, or they're working typically, or whatever that looks like. So mothers play a big role. I know mine did. So it's a lot to credited to my success today. So we'll get into that. But Portia, can you kind of give us a little rundown of, you're a mortgage agent now.
Yes.
Can we say your age on the podcast?
I'm 35.
You're 35.
Yeah, I'm 35.
From the camera seat, you cannot tell that Portia's 35. She looks much younger, so compliments to you. But let's get into a little bit of what you did, in your 20s, or even like in high school. What was your mindset? Were you really motivated? Were you driven? Were you pushing?
Yes. I have always been driven, and I think I've always had an older mindset. Even though I'm younger, I'm always the one that's thinking thinking ahead, right?
Ahead of the game, right?
Yes, ahead of the game, and just being motivated, because you know what? I've been through a lot of things in my life, and that always pushes me to want to do better, especially for my children. We've all made mistakes in having bad relationships, but a lot of things shape us to be who we are. So that's just like a little nutshell. Like, there's just been a lot of struggle, but adversity, one thing that we always fail to understand is that adversity is supposed to be a fuel that pushes us to success, right? And I think that's what it has helped me with. Yes.
Yeah. You know what? Everybody has struggle. Everybody deals with it differently. And that's why I think a lot of people can relate to you discussing, trouble and coming out of that. So I guess let's talk about your life. University. Did you go to university?
I did. I love school.
Oh, really?
I love school. Like, my favorite subject is math.
Oh, you're one of those. Oh, boy. Oh, no.
I love school. I love school. So after high school, because I've always wanted to work with children. Like I was telling you before we started, my goal was to become a teacher, a kindergarten teacher. But when I finished high school, I wanted to actually do something where I was going to really understand how children are, the psychology of children, before I just became a teacher. Because a lot of times people just take any program, any courses, and then go to teachers college and become teachers. But I wanted it to be meaningful.
I gotta pause you right there, because that is actually very impressive. You know what? I'm kind of against you. I don't love school, and I didn't do well grades-wise in school. And so hearing it, trust me, I would love school if every teacher would understand the psychology of a child from grades 1 or in kindergarten to high school, their last year. I think it's a big thing that not a lot of people grasp to understand, is that you're not just a boss. You're not a boss. You're not. You are a team leader that is trying to make your team the best as possible. But anyways, continue, because I want to hear more about you wanting to be a teacher.
So then, I decided to first, I did ECE. And it was so funny because after my early childhood education,
Oh boy.
I did it. I've graduated. I had a prospect for work. And, you know, while I was in school, I was working, and I was working at a job where I was making $13 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, I get this job for the daycare. We did an orientation where we went, met, I created I'm very creative. So I created some programs, some activities, and they loved it. But then they called me and they're like, oh, we want to offer you a preschool job for $8. I was like, wow. Are you serious? I started to laugh. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And then that's when I started realizing that, you know what, daycare workers are very underpaid, because I'm like, you know, at least I can do that, then go to university.
Right.
And then.
Oh, so get a job, fund your uni career.
Yes, and then kind of go that, right? Because I did ECE, work, go back to school, right? And then go to teacher's college, right? Because 2 years of ECE, 2 years of university, which I was going to continue with Humber, because I went to Humber. So I was going to do the Humber Guelph program, University of Guelph at Humber, do 2 more years of early childhood education, learn more in depth, and then go to teacher's college. But then when they offered me that job, I was like, no.
Yeah. Because you understood that, you know, I mean, it's not like you're a greedy person. It's not like there's a lot of greedy people out there. It's just like you have to be able to support yourself, other people, your family. I mean, especially like if you wanted to have I don't know if you wanted to have a big family or not.
Yes, I did.
Well, there you go. Then you had to be able to support financially. First of all, university is not cheap. It never was. Right? So it's not a bad decision. So take us through now, coming through your story again.
Yeah. So then I went to, I told them no, because I'm like, you know what, I'm almost about to be promoted to $14, and I'm not going to take a $8 job where, you know, I love children, but it's just that it wasn't going to work. So I continued working, and then I decided to go back to school, took sociology. And you know what, even though people always say sociology is just a placement course that people take, but it really helped me to really understand how society functions and how we are all part of how we make it better, right? Because, you know, you learn about capitalism, you learn about all the things that has happened in our society, all the bad things that have happened. And it helped me to really think, okay, with all these bad things that have happened, how can I be part of making it a better place? Right? You know, we're always talking about, oh, this and this, you know, the world is this, the world is that, but we also have to make sure we change our mindset to figure out how can we change the conversation? How can we break these generational cycles? How do we break all these things that are going on in our community? You know, I started to learn, you know, all this, the poverty and all of that. Then I'm like, okay, even though I ended up not going back to school, that course taught me so much value. It taught me so much about society, taught me so much, which was valuable. So then I believe it was like my last semester. I had like 3 more courses to finish. Right. And, you know, I had been...
This was at Humber?
No, I went to York University.
Gotcha.
I went to York University after Humber. Went to York University. And then I got a call because I was applying to the bank. Gotcha. Right? I'm not going to mention the name, but I was applying to the bank, and I finally got the call. So then I was like, okay, so if I leave this opportunity, you know, school will always be there. But this opportunity might not be there again, because I was applying like religiously for like a whole year. Yes. And then the one time I changed my resume a little bit,
Of course. Yep.
I got a call. I'm like, what is the same resume? I just added 1 word.
Wow.
And I got the call. So I'm like, okay, this is a sign. This is the sign. So you got to go. So then I ended up, I left school, right? Because I'm like, you know what? School, it's there. I can always go and finish those 3 courses.
And that's the biggest thing I think a lot of people need to understand is school's always going to be there. And you have so much time in your life to go to school, right? However, opportunities, they come and go. And yes, you could have a mindset on opportunities, kind of saying, you know, oh, this one came. I'm not going to take this one, but another one will come along. Okay. But actually, what's funny is me and Kate talked about this, is saying yes to opportunities that come your way, because they will come and go. Yep. But sometimes the ones that come back aren't the best ones.
It's true.
Right? So just say yes. So I like how you are kind of touching on that subject of say yes to opportunities that come. So kind of give us a rundown on that opportunity.
I said yes. I started off at the contact center in Mississauga, one of their head offices. I worked as customer service for a bit, and then, you know, they were looking for people to do overnight. Right.
Oh,
to help
right.
the overnight clients.
That's a tough shift. Yeah.
Yes. It was fun. It was okay because, you know, I was able, and also I had children, right? So I was able to, you know, go to work, and then during the day I'm with them.
Right.
The nights I go to work, and that time I was living with my mom, so it was convenient.
Yes.
It was convenient, right? Because I will do 4 days a week, 9 p.m. till like I think 9 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
Right. And then also we had a group of people, which was really good because we developed a relationship, so we will talk, because there'll be times where no calls are coming in and we're just chatting.
You're just chatting.
But I really liked it because I got opportunity to be exposed to a lot of different things.
Right.
I got to learn about corporate banking. I got to learn about commercial banking. I got to learn about so many things. But after a while, I felt like I was missing something. I felt like there wasn't something missing. So then I started applying to jobs within the bank, just serial applying.
Did you feel like there was almost a sense of this won't go anywhere, or is that kind of what?
Yeah, I just felt like I was just working for the sake of just chasing money.
Yep.
Right? Because a lot of times we're chasing money, and
instead of building a career.
Yes, instead of building a career, or even instead of doing something that fulfills you.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of us are just chasing paper. We're just chasing that silver dollar, and we're not fulfilled. And then when we come home, because we're not fulfilled and we're not happy, it spills into how we show up for our children, how we show up for ourselves.
Yes.
So, you know, I started that. It was starting to do that, right? I wasn't fulfilled. I just got up, just the daily workman, like get up, brush your teeth, put your clothes on, go to work.
Yeah.
Get up.
Yeah. And it got old, eh? Yeah.
Yes. You know, pick up the teeth, go to work.
Yeah.
Pick up the kids, come back, go to work. It's just like the same beat. And it's like, there's nothing different. Like, it's not, your heart doesn't sing. You know, a lot of times it's better to do something where when you want to get up in the morning, you're happy to get up in the morning, right? And that's what you call purposeful living, right? We have to get to a level where we're living on purpose. We're living to, you know, not only accomplish for us and our families, but just to make the world a better place. Our contributions to the world, it's so, so important. So then I started working. I started applying to different jobs. I got interviews. I didn't get the job. I was like, oh my God, like, why? I didn't get the job. And then I'm like, you know what? All of a sudden, I had the desire to be in the lending department. So I applied and I got the job.
So where did that opportunity, so did you kind of thought, okay, well, maybe there's more opportunity in the lending department, more pay, you know, more expansion for growth, more opportunity to build a career. Is that kind of what your thought process?
No, because as an overnight, I made the money.
Right.
I made more money than being in a lending department. Right. But it was more of growth. Because I started researching, what do I want to do? You know, as a lending department, where can I take it? What's the next level? Yeah. Instead of just doing this, what's the next level? Right. So then eventually I'm like, you know what? I can do lending. I can underwrite loans. I can underwrite credit cards. And then eventually I can become an auditor. Right. And that's what I was striving to be. Right. But not knowing that there were other plans for me. Right. So, you know, before I was, you know, I got the job and then I got pregnant. And then when I got pregnant, I was like, you know, I was at the height of my career. Like, I did my test.
Very motivated.
Yes, very motivated. I was enjoying the lending department. And, you know, I had to get certified. So I was training for like a good 8 weeks. And in that 8 weeks, you know, I did my exam. And, you know, it came back that I had the best exam they've ever seen. Really? And then I got, you know, I got awards. I got all of these things. But then I went on maternity leave and came back.
And that killed you.
And not even that, I just didn't feel it anymore.
Oh, like the drive.
The drive, just that, it wasn't fulfilling anymore because when I went on maternity leave, I also had a mindset shift. I started to learn about who I am. I started to kind of really get to know who I am, love myself. And then that also shifted when I came back. This was not something that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, okay, what should I do?
Did a family start to come into more flourishing now that you already have a kid, mm-hmm. you know, potentially even grow a family in the future?
That wasn't why. It was more of, this is not me.
Right,
this is not for me. I am meant to do better. I am meant to do bigger. I'm not saying that wasn't better, but I'm meant to do bigger. My mission and my purpose for this world is better. It's more than what I'm doing. So if I stay here, I will never reach to my full potential. Right. I will never be able to touch more people like I want to.
So understanding your 1, potential, mm-hmm. 2, growth opportunities,
yes.
and 3, just the fact that, you know, if something's not fulfilling you, move on.
Yes, move on, please. Move on, because you know, I will say, like, especially sometimes we got to even look at our parents, the ones that are in jobs that are not fulfilling them. When they come home and they're grumpy, you don't want to be like that.
Yeah. No, I hear ya. So let me ask you this: Did your lesson in what was it again in university at York University?
Mm-hmm.
Did that help you or assist you in becoming the person of being able to connect with people on a deeper level and a more emotional level?
Yes, it did. And also just life experiences. And also I've always been a people person, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
I think it's really important. Relationship is so important, mm-hmm. right? Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be alone.
Right, yeah.
Nobody wants to be alone. So we have to make sure that we're giving ourselves opportunities to meet people. Right? Because I know that sometimes if you're a shy person, you're just like reserved and you just stay back. But sometimes you got to just go out there and just meet people.
Yep.
And I think being in university, you know, that actually started when I was at York. There was some courses that I was like, okay, like I'm not a science person. I'm a math person, but science, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting no Bunsen burner. I'm not doing no science lab stuff, right? And I had to take, it was like natural science. I'm like, I'm not into that. So then I'm like, okay, how can I leverage people to be successful and all of us working together to get the grades that we want? So then I started kind of like, you know, when people would come to class, I'll start like eyeing them, you know, what do you think they will do? So then I started going on and talking to people. Because I got my midterms and I got like a 30%. I'm like, no, wow. I am not failing this class. You knew it wasn't meant for you. Yep. I'm not failing this class. So I need to start getting to know people where like we can study together. Yep. We can do stuff together. And then I created a study group where we will meet, you know, after school. And thank God my mom was home to watch the kids. So we will stay after school, do homework together, study together. When we have like group work, we'll all do it together. And that really helped. Right? Leveraging people. And I think sometimes we fail to understand that. Even when I'm talking to university students and even students, make sure leverage people, because that's what masterminding is. You get whatever people's weaknesses, whatever people's strengths are, you put it all together to help each other, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So after I went on mat leave, I came back, I went back to school again. I went back to school, actually graduated in 2020. I went back to school because that day when I was leaving my job at the bank, I made a decision to myself that I am never going to trade my worth for money again. Right. And I'm never going to do something that's not going to be fulfilling and that's not going to contribute to the better of the world. So then I'm like, okay, I launched my nonprofit. And my nonprofit is to build and nurture the foundations of the youth so that they can dream big. So I'm like, okay, at least that way I can go back to school, take a Bachelor of Commerce program, learn about business, do HR so that when I'm done, I can help my own business, right? Mm-hmm. I can help manage my nonprofit. So then when I finished that, I was like, okay, what can I do? I'm helping the youth, right? But I can't just help the youth. So I'm just like, okay, what are some ways that I can add more value to the youth to be better? So then I started kind of like I have like chart paper that I just started jotting different notes, but everything kept on coming back to the parents. right? Because if I'm going to be building and nurturing the foundations, it's the parents that are building that foundation. Right. So how can I help parents so that they can build better foundations, so that they can build better mindset for their children? So then I made a decision, okay, what are some areas, what are some occupations, some career paths that I can get myself involved in so that I can now bring that knowledge to help the parents so that, you know, let's say a lot of parents have like the homeownership gap is so far, especially in marginalized communities, right? So I'm like, okay, so how can I help these families so that they can build wealth, generational wealth, so that they can
to break the cycle.
Yes, to break that cycle, right? Because the cycle starts with the parents. Yep. The parents have to be the ones that break the cycles, right? By giving their kids education, by helping them to do certain things that they're doing. Because a lot of times I feel like there's so many organizations, right? And a lot of organizations are just helping the kids. And then once we help the kids, we put them back in the toxic environment. And what happens? You unlearn everything. Yep. They unlearn everything because if their parents don't have that mindset, if the parents have the lack mindset, if the parents don't have a good money mindset, if the parents don't have the resources that they need, then they can't be empowered enough.
And you know what? I actually could not agree more with that because our last conversation with our anonymous guest who worked with troubled teens, it's funny that we're kind of doing this on the same day. Yeah. Because to be honest with you, it's like what you're doing is you're actually telling the root and what she talked about was the result. Yeah. So you see the result that she deals with and trying to break that generational gap with those kids, where you're trying to break the generational gap with the parents. Yes. And I think that duo is really, really working. I hope it works more for families. So I guess it seems like that's one of the biggest reasons you got into becoming a mortgage agent because I got to be honest, you know, you go from wanting to be a teacher to going to the bank to going back to school, working overnights, and like you kind of had an open book of everything, right? Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I think it definitely helped you learn a lot. So I want to ask you, what are probably the 2 or maybe 3 most important lessons you learned having 6 kids, having a successful business career, and learning the struggle that it takes to do all of that, you know, happily?
I think one thing I'll say is that don't lose your why. Your why is what drives you, right? And a lot of times, you know, your why doesn't even have to be your kids. You can have kids and your why doesn't have to be your kids, right? Your why can even be other things, but just make sure you know what your why is. And then every day you're reminding yourself, even when adversity comes, even when your business is not blooming as much as you want it to do, don't forget your why, because your why will keep you going, will keep you consistent, right? And then also focus on what you're doing. Don't worry about anybody else. Even to the young people, don't worry about anybody else. I always tell people, mind your business. Don't worry about what somebody's doing or what somebody's not doing. You focus on what it is that you need to do for yourself to better yourself, because at the end of the day, when everybody leaves, it's just you. It's just you. So focus on you and what you got to do, right? And then also, one thing I always tell people is it's not about you. Right? And I always say that my mission is bigger than me, because everything that I'm doing, it's not about me. It's about the people who I'm supposed to impact, right? It's the people who have gone through adversity, the people who can actually stand in my shoes, the people who can resonate with me and say, you know what, if she has been through it, I can go through it.
And what I like what you said about all of those 3 is they complement each other. Yeah. Your reason for doing something is to benefit other people. That's your why, or one of, or part of your whys, right? So I really like kind of how you position that. Now, I want to ask you, what was one of the things that you want to see, I guess, in the future? So you now have a family, you have a successful career, whether financially or not. None of my business. However, I think that a successful business career doesn't necessarily mean financially. I think it's like you said, being fulfilled. And it's very clear that it does fulfill you. right? So I want to kind of come to understand, what things in the future do you have, that we can hold you to, that you can look back on this video and say, oh, I did that,
Yes.
10 years or 5 years from now?
So right now I want to start building. So one thing that I have that I'm doing is kind of building community of whether women or men, right? So that we can start shifting the conversation on what real success is, right?
Right.
Because a lot of people, our young people, are looking at social media for their inspiration, and sometimes the inspiration is not the best, right? So if we as the adults, the women, the men, can start changing how social media is being represented by us, actually representing it in the right way, then we will shift how they see social media. Right. We will have children who are inspired, young people who are inspired to become realtors, to become mortgage agents, not just see, I'm going to grow up and become a YouTuber. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we start showing representation, and representation matters. Representation matters. So let's say me as a mortgage agent, how am I using my platform to shape the next generation, right? And what are even doing, creating a system where we even have women and men mentoring the next generation, right? If somebody chooses not to go to school, that's fine, right? But at least we want them to make that decision, having tools in place that's going to help them in their future.
Yeah. No, listen, I could not agree more. I think the reason for doing something is very strong. Like, for example, when I started my business, it was a lot of I was doing video game stuff, and a lot of my push at the start, and I'll publicly say this, and I have before, is it wasn't good. It was that I was laughed at or whatever, or, people said, oh, well, you need to go to school or you're not going to really be successful or this kind of stuff. So I actually worked hard because of hearing that. Yeah. And I have that to thank to get to the point where I was maybe 4 or 5, or but 3-4 months ago. And then when I hit that point, it's like I hit my financial goal. Yeah. And then I realized nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. That push is over. So I hit about a month of realization, and it wasn't like it was such a lonely feeling. It was more that you need to find a new why. You need to find a real fulfilling reason why you want to do this, right? And so there's definitely different avenues you can take. Like you said, I do like how you said, you can be a family and your why doesn't have to be your kids. And here's the thing, you can have multiple whys, right? You can. Now listen, Portia, how come you don't do speaking engagements?
Pardon?
How come you don't do speaking engagements?
That's my goal. That's one of my goals. One of my goals is to be a transformational speaker. Yeah. That's something that I really want to do. I have that on my list, and I need to start doing things to do it, because I love, my experiences, and I love just sharing, right? Sharing and helping people to see that they are bigger and better than who they are. Right? Because a lot of times, even when it comes to homeowners, when I'm talking to my clients, and I think, I'm so thankful to God for giving me the ears to hear. Yeah. Because a lot of times me and you will be talking, but I'm hearing the why behind what you're saying. So then it allows me to really help people from a place where I know it's going to connect. Yeah. Right? And it's so, so important. We have to do better. Everybody, it is all of our responsibility. It is our responsibility. Don't say that, oh, that's not my kid. Because remember, back in the days, we said the village raised the children. We have lost that. Yep. We have lost that, right? So we need to get back to what we used to do. Be accountable for each other. Because at the end of the day, I can, raise my children with values. But when my kid goes out there, I can't control who.
Whether it's school, whether it's, the groups they hang out with, the parties they go to. Yep. No, I hear you. I can't
control that. But if we are all accountable, then we are making sure, when I see, because even with me, in my neighborhood, when I see the kids going astray, I'm not calling your mom to tell her. I'm telling you right there that you shouldn't do that. That's not okay. That's not a good representation of who I know you are. Who I know you are and who I know you're capable of becoming. So you don't need to be sagging your pants out here, right? You talk to them. Some of them will listen, some of them will not. But I've really developed a lot of good relationship with the kids in my community that when I tell them, they're like, thank you, Miss Portia, or thank you, Auntie Portia, right? I like that because I don't want to just think that it's only just me and my children. It's about the world at large, right? Yeah. Because if you help, then somebody will help your kid. It's the law of reciprocity, right? If you do, others will do for you, right? Don't be selfish. You know, I always say, I don't, you know, there's two people that I don't like. People who are in competition and people who are selfish, right? You know, we think that there's lack. There's enough in the world for everybody. Yeah. Don't compete. Don't compete where you are, you know, trying to diminish other people or you're trying to undervalue other people and make other people less than you. Just focus on what you're doing. I will say it again, mind your business. Mind your business. You know, like I say, mind the business that pays you. Mind your business and focus on what it is that you have to do, right? Stop worrying about everybody. Stop worrying. And I always say, stop worrying about your mother, what your mother didn't do. Stop worrying about what your dad did not do. Stop worrying about what your family did not do. Worry about what you can do. And
what you can do to make a difference.
What you can do, because remember, maybe they did not have the resources, but now we are so fortunate in 2022 to have access to all of this knowledge. There are people who are consistently sharing what they've been through, what they've done through books. You know, I have my mentor, I did a live with her the other day, and she was like, listen, if you can't afford a mentor, read a book. Yep. If you can't afford a mentor, read a book. There's so many people who have putting all these things down. Read a book, and don't just read. Do. Yeah. Do. And the thing is, I've been there before, right? Where I was just like, you know, I knew what to do, but I wasn't doing it. Right. But we have to start to get to a point where we're living not just for ourselves, but just for other people, because, you know, it's not only about us. Yeah. Even me as a mortgage agent and as a credit repair coach, I got into these businesses. Yes, it's going to make me money, but at the end of the day, it's helping other people. It's helping other people. Right now, my goal is to help 50 women become homeowners in 2022, right? So that it's helping me do that. Right? That allows me to be able to do that, where I can leverage my mortgage, educate my mortgage knowledge to help them. I can leverage my credit coaching because people have bad credit. Yeah. People have bad credit. Yep. People have bad credit, right? I talk to clients for my credit coaching services, and it's like sometimes I want to fall off my chair, but that's okay. We still cheer them on, right? Yep. And the thing is, when they come in to talk to me, we have fun. Yeah. We have fun, because I don't want them to think that because you have bad credit or you're in debt that life is over. No. You know, and I put a post, you know, bad credit is not an issue. There's nothing wrong with bad credit. But when you choose to do nothing about it, that is the real issue, right? It's not the end of the world, because as much as you got bad credit, you can have good credit. Right. If you can get into bad credit, you just need maybe somebody to push you, and you just need to change your mindset. You can get into good credit. If you can get a C, you can get an A. Yep. Just so let me ask you one last question, because we got to close it off today. But I want to ask you one last thing. What would be one lesson you learned, like a hard life lesson that you learned throughout your 35 years of living? Just give me one lesson. Strong lesson that you. Maybe not a humbling moment, maybe just like a realization moment. I think a realization I gotta think. There's so many. There's 35 years. Yeah. There's 35 years. There's those so many. But I think the most humbling, I think I learned it probably like a couple weeks ago, that I'm entitled. Right. That I need to stop being entitled. You know, whether it's entitled, you know, because a lot of times, like even with your kids, you're entitled. You have to listen to me. I gave birth to you. You got to listen to me. But I'm not entitled. Like, they don't really, you know, they should, but I shouldn't be so entitled to things. Like it's their life, right? Right. I shouldn't be entitled to other people, and even when I'm dealing with the clients and I want them to do well, I shouldn't be entitled to that. So it's actually funny that you bring that up, because in our last podcast, we had talked about hearing children. Yeah. And just making sure they feel heard. And you know, our anonymous guest was so polite in saying that the biggest issue with, you know, broken
youth kids is that they don't feel heard. So to make them feel heard, you're winning, right?
And that's the thing. A lot of times they're not heard because parents feel entitled.
Yep.
We feel entitled.
Once again, going from the parents and now the kids, right?
Yes.
You know what? That's
entitled. We feel entitled. And I had to check because there's this devotional that I've been moderating on Clubhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of the topics. And I really had to sit down all day and really write down what are some ways that I feel entitled. Because then when you feel entitled, you become stressed when people are not doing what you think they should be doing, right? And then you start yelling. You start getting overwhelmed, right? And even with your clients, a lot of us, we feel entitled because we're helping you get a home. So you got to do this, you got to do that.
Right.
People don't have to do nothing.
Yeah.
But breathe.
On that note, Portia, thank you so much for joining us today. I wish we could go longer.
Yes,
but
I had a pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Now listen, where can people find you? I know you have Instagram, but where can people find you?
Yes,
contact you?
I am on Instagram. I am on TikTok at Portia Does Mortgages.
Portia Does Mortgages.
Portia Does Mortgages.
I love it.
I do
love
mortgages.
It. Awesome. Portia Does Mortgages.
Portia Does Mortgages.
Okay, listen, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into another podcast. We are going to blow up this year. We're so excited. We've got some big goals, 50,000 downloads for 2022. Wow. So thank you, everybody. Feel free to hit that download button. Give us a little bit of support, and we'll get into the next episode. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Portia.
you so much.
Thank you for listening to this week's Golden Guest on the Meeting Gold podcast. If you learned something from today's episode, make sure to check out our other content on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, make sure to leave us a follow while you're there. Thanks, and have a golden day.